All right, I think I'm live here. So hopefully that is the case. And got four of us here right off the bat, so that's a good start. Today in this lesson, we're going to be talking about the 7 chords in every key. And this is actually something that is really great to know in music theory. Make sure I have everything going good here. Last week, my audio was not good until, excuse me, until a couple of you guys commented and said the audio is not good. So do me a favor and let me know if I need to turn up the mic or anything like that. Here's the keys. That doesn't sound like it's quite loud enough. Let me turn that up a little bit. Maybe that's better. Anyway, all right, let's dive into this. Here, like I said, we're talking about the 7 chords in every key, and this is going to be based off of previous lessons. So if there's some information in there that you think, I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, I've already covered it in the last few lessons that I've done over the last few weeks, but it will require a little bit of recap here just to get started. So here we have, we've been talking about the major scale and the importance of the major scale in music theory. And this is super important. So we're going to talk about that real quick, and then also talk about how to identify major and minor chords. And then we will go from there too. So here we go. Real quick, just right off the bat, we've got our major scale, which every scale is going to be 8 notes. Well, actually 7 notes, and one of them is going to repeat. Thanks, Melissa, for saying that the audio is good. That's good to know. Okay, so here we go. We've got every scale is going to have, we're just going to use numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I write out the 8th number as like an 8 and or 1 because it does kind of repeat. So here we're just going to fill this in with a major scale, which is going to be, which is divided up into whole steps and half steps. So basically in between these 2 notes is a whole step, a half step. In between these 2, a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, a half. If you guys not familiar with that, then you need to go back and watch the first couple of lessons. But let's fill in a key or 2 here just so we are clear on exactly what we're talking about. So in the key of C, there's going to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again. Let's do B flat. So we're going to have B flat, C, D, E, flat, F, G, A, and B flat again. And let's do the key of G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G again. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So this is, all of these guys are the first note of the scale. All of these are the second note. All of these are the third. All of these are the 4th, 5th, 6th, so on and so forth. Now, you probably have, if you're not familiar with this, you've probably figured this out to some extent on your own, depending upon the instrument that you play. Most people, when they first start playing any sort of music, is with piano, and you'll have a chord that someone will play like this, and they'll have like 3 notes in it. And we've learned in previous lessons that there are 4 different types of chords that we can have. Okay, so our 4 chords are going to be major chord, and or triad is another way to say it. Basically, it's the 3 notes. If there's 3 notes in a chord, it's a triad. So we have our major triad or a major chord. We have our minor. We have our diminished chord. I'm going to just write dim. And then we have our augmented chord. Okay, really quick, the easiest way to figure this out is with thirds. And so if we have, let's see, a third is basically 2 half steps, or I mean, 2, we talked about this last week, intervals, but basically a third is just an interval. So here's our C scale. If you went from the 1 to the 3, that is a third interval. Okay, and this happens to be a major third. If you go to the flat 3, it's a minor third. That's really hard to think about in terms of keys and getting all that figured out. So it's easier just to break it down into the number of steps or the whole steps. So a major third is 2 whole steps. So we go up a whole step to D, and then another whole step to E, That's a major third. Okay, so a major third. Let's write it out here on the side somewhere. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we're gonna use this. We're gonna use the here's our little key over here. A big M is gonna equal a major, and a little m is going to equal minor. Hopefully that makes sense. So a major third is 2 whole steps. And I'm going to write this down here. Let's see, I'll just put an arrow. 2 whole steps. And then a minor third is going to be 1.5 whole steps. And you could think of it as 4 half steps and 3 half steps if you wanted to, but let me use a different color so it's a little bit easier to think here. A major triad, the 3 notes in that are going to be, you're going to start on, they're always going to be like a 1, 3, and a 5, like this. And it's going to be a major interval followed by a minor interval that make up the major chord. As we can see here, this is a major third, that's a minor third, that's a major chord, okay? And again, if I'm moving too fast, this is covered in another lesson. You can go back and look at that. Then a minor chord is just the opposite of that. It's a minor third followed by a major third. So we have, then this is a major third. Okay, so those are C minor. And then a diminished chord is 2 minor thirds. So we'd have our, okay. And then our augmented chord is, you guessed it, 2 major thirds. Kind of want that to resolve there. So, what are the chords in the key, in any key whatsoever? And these are diatonic chords, by the way. Thank you, Burnt, for saying that. Yeah, these are diatonic chords, meaning they're within the major key or the minor key, but they're within the major key, or then the scale, essentially. Well, if we take a look at a couple of these here, let me grab another. I'll use this one here. And we look at the notes. Let's just push this guy off to the side. Maybe we'll kind of keep him in the frame a little bit so we can see our notes. I'll try to write off to the side here. There we go. Let me see here. Sorry. I've got many screens open as I'm doing this, trying to figure it all out. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'll take my face out of here. So, let's say, for example, like I can use this here. I'm sorry. I already did what I was going to do. Here we have a couple examples here of like the C major scale here. We've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we look at this, I'm going to just take out these so they're not confusing. Okay. So if we start on, if you notice that any chord, you're always like skipping a note. So you kind of like start on a note, and then you skip a letter name, then you skip a letter name, and there's your chord. Okay, doesn't matter what. That's the basic feeling of it. So this is what I mean by, many of you have probably figured about this. And we'll talk a little bit about, a couple people are saying, what about the other combinations? There are more than 4 types of chords. Yeah, there's, we actually talked about that a couple weeks ago. But we're talking about basic chord qualities, these 4, and then everything else is actually built off of these 4. So these are like the implied, chord qualities. So here we go. If we just took this chord here, we're skipping a note, I'm going to use these 3 fingers, it's easier to see. So there's a note in between each one. So I start on the 1, and then the second note of the scale, 3rd note of the scale, 4th note, 5th note, 6th note, 7th note, and then back to our 1. Okay, so that's it. There's only 7 of these basic triad combinations there. The only 7 possibilities. Anything else is going to be an alternation of that. This is a sus chord. Okay, if you any other different things or ways you're going to put it are going to be alterations on those. Okay, And there's ways to write that out, but it literally, as you write it out, we'll get to that another time. It's explained as alterations on those. So if we look at this right here, our let's see, I probably do need to erase some of this here. Let's just start over a little bit. Okay, that's a little bit easier to see. Let's look at a scale here. So if we took it, we'll just do the C for right now. So again, our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and our 1. And then I'm going to just write out here, I'm going to write 2 and 3 and 4. Okay. So here, if we had we looked at this from the, that doesn't even look good. Let me do it one more time. I'm sorry. I'm not used to writing it out that far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just call it 8. Well, we need to call it 1. We'll just call it 1 for now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, if this is our C scale, we would have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. We just keep on going forever. Now, if we do the skip a note thing, so we have our first note. So let's use a different color. First note is going to be C, and then we skip this note to E. We skip this note to G, and we look at the intervals here. Okay, so this is going to be our one chord basically. So our first chord in the scale is going to be we'll even just write it out here. Our first one here is going to be a, look at it. Pull this up. There we go. That's a major third. Okay. Let's use this guy right here. And then followed by the E to the G, minor third. And what did we say that was? That is a major chord. So our first chord is going to be a major chord. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, now let's look at our 2. And our 2 is going to be D, skip F, skip a letter name, and A. Now, what are these? These are going to be, just so this is a little bit easier, I'm going to use a different color for these. I'm going to put them in the middle here too. There we go. Does that make sense? Hopefully that's making sense there. Wait, this is writing out. I need to get a bigger whiteboard. I need to get this whole desk to be like a whiteboard. That'd be kind of cool. So we have D, skip the E, we'll go to F, skip the G, and we'll go to A. Okay. And this is going to be a minor third followed by a major third, which we just saw a second ago is a minor chord. So right off the bat, there you have it. The first chord, your one chord, is going to be major in a major scale. And then it's going to be minor. Okay? We'll go to the next one. Okay. Then we're going to go next to the next chord. There's some argument happening in the comment section. Okay, don't be distracted by that. So our three chord is going to be E, G, and then B. Okay, again, we're just skipping notes, which again is going to be a minor, followed by a major third. Okay, hopefully you guys are getting this. And so our 3 is minor also. And then we have our F, skip to the A, skip to the C, and then our 4 chord is going to be a major third followed by a minor third. Follow with me here, guys. This is good stuff. Yeah, major. All right, and then we have, let's see, trying to line these up. Our 5 chord is going to be G, B, and D, and that also is a major third, followed by a minor third. So our 5 is major, Our 6 is going to be A, followed by, we're skipping the B to the C, skipping the D to the E. And our 6 is going to be a minor third, followed by a minor third. And then finally, our last one, because it's going to start repeating here, is B, skip the C to D, skip the D to F. And this is the only one that's not major or minor, and that is 2 minor thirds. And so that is a diminished chord. Oh, I missed 6 here. Sorry. This is minor. And then the 7 is going to be a diminished chord like that. Hopefully that makes sense and all that. Oh, I didn't even write it down. Sorry, you guys couldn't see that bottom part. So that basically that's essentially the lesson. We're going to do it here in a couple different ways, a couple different keys. But if you look at it, I mean, it's very, very simple here, how all of this kind of fits together. So you've got major third, minor third. We're just walking up. Okay, and those are our 7 ones. So this is where it gets really nice, is in when you're playing music, you don't have to, you kind of like, it's like a hack essentially for a song. If you're in the key of C, you know that basically these are going to be your basic triads. And you're not going to be, you don't have to worry about playing a B flat chord unless it's written in there. I mean, it's possible, but you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to play about, is it going to be a C major or C minor? Well, it's going to be a C major because it's the 1. Okay. So this is why people will say things like, music, it's all lame. It's just 1, 4, 5, or it's only got 3 or 4 chords in every song. Like, it's not exactly true. It's not the same 3 or 4 chords in every song, but it is the same 3 or 4 chord qualities based on this. So, for example, so right here, we've got C, the key of C. So as we're playing a song in that, you're going to see, your main, in almost any music you play, you're going to see the 1, which is major, the 4, which is major, the 5 is going to be in almost every song. And this actually goes really good with ear training when you're trying to play along with songs that you haven't played before or whatever the case is. You're figuring out this kind of stuff. So you kind of hear a chord. Okay, well, right off the bat, how many majors are there here? Okay, so there's only 1, 2, 3 major chords. All right, how many minors are there? 1, 2, 3 minor chords. There's only 1 diminished chord. So if you're listening, you can hear it playing. That's a major chord. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound major. That's a minor chord. Well, really, you only have 3 options to choose from. You hear a major chord. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear that that's the 1 because it's the key. You're going to hear that. Then you'll get used to hearing the 4. You'll get used to hearing the 5. And then you hear a minor chord. You're like, okay, well, which one was that? So it really kind of narrows down even your ear training, because your major, a lot of times, your diminished chord, it's pretty easy to hear. You're like, what's clashing? Something doesn't quite sound right. It's going to be probably a diminished chord. And it's probably going to be passing to something pretty close to it. So my point is, this is really good for ear training for what chords are in a key. So if you're listening, or what chords are in a song, if you're listening to a song, you're trying to figure it out. If you can figure out what key you're in, then that narrows down what chords you're going to have available to you for the most part. There's always exceptions. There's always alterations that people make in a song. And then even from down to there, like I think of it, my terms, I think of it this way. We have let me see here. I'm going to do this here. All right. I'm going to put somebody in the timer there. It seems like it's kind of distracting from the group. So I'm going to put somebody in the timer just for a minute. Music theory is one of those things that a lot of people will kind of disagree on. Music theory is just a theory. It's not the law. No, you're not going to get arrested for saying something different. It's just a theory. So it's one of those things that I've got a certain way that I teach it and a certain way that I do it. based upon my bachelor's in music composition and also playing jazz and just my experience that way. So sorry for the distractions in the comment section. So hopefully we'll be able to get back on here a little bit better. All right, so we've got these. These are our chords that we have here, and sorry, let me get the numbers there. So essentially, you can just easily in a key be able to do this. So watch this. So I'm going to delete all of this. We're going to do this same thing with another key. Let's pick the key of G. So in the key of G, we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then G again. Okay, let's forget about these guys. We don't even need them yet. I'm going to go back to my 8 and or 1. And so our first chord is what? It's a G chord of some sort, and it is a major chord. So right here we have, if we write out the chords here, our 1 is G major, and we're just going to write a G because you don't have to write major or minor after a major chord. Our 2 chord is going to be A minor. Our 3 chord, because it's a minor also, it's going to be B minor. Our 4 chord, it's a major chord, it's going to be C major. Sorry. Our 5 chord is D major. You guys following along here? Our 6 chord is E minor. And then finally our 7 chord, which is going to be the rarest one, is going to be F diminished. And I'm going to write just a little circle for now for that. You can also write dim if you want to. Oops, excuse me. So there it is right there. That's pretty easy seeing how that happens. Now in practice, let's see if we can get this on here. Let me zoom out just a hair on this. Give me a little bit more space. So in the key of G, sorry. Where we're at. Yeah. So sorry for the sound. This piano sounds horrible, but that's what you're looking at. You're just looking at the key and you just go up, skipping 1 each one. So again, we only have 3 majors. Our majors are right here. So I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just I'll circle these. Yeah. So we have majors here. And then I'll do it in yellow. I think I did, yeah, green for minor. Our minors. And then our diminished right here. So same way here. We've got our 2 minor chords. 3 minor chords actually. And then we have our major chords. And our 1 diminished chord. Pretty cool. So as you're hearing somebody play music and they're, what is that? It's a minor chord. So I have 3 options here. And out of these, in most kind of pop music, you're going to have almost always your 1 3 5. I'm sorry, your 1 4 5. Okay, and your 2 is probably going to be your next guess, or maybe actually your 6 is probably your first guess for a minor chord. So if I said a song only has 4 keys. What am I saying? If a song only has 4 notes, it's going to be the 1, the 4, the 5. These are chords here, and then you're going to have probably the minor is going to be the 6 minor. Now, it could also be the 2 minor. I mean, there's nothing set in stone. And then if there was probably another minor, it's probably going to be the 2 minor. Okay, this is just from past experiences listening to music, how it kind of works out usually. So as you're hearing a song, and then it does go into a minor chord, like your first guess should be that it's going to be the 6th. Okay, and then I'm going to show you guys a trick here in a second. Then you hear another minor chord. Okay, well, that might be the 2. And then you hear, you should be able to immediately hear that that's not the 1. And then, so now you have 2 options to choose from, which are one of the other 2 majors that aren't the 1. Okay, well, I think it's a 4, or it could be a 5. You you can kind of play it really quickly and figure it out. And then the 5, and the 5 is going to want to lead you back to the 1. So if you're like, oh, I really want to resolve here, it's probably the 5. So those are just kind of some tricks. We're not going to dive. This is an ear training lesson. So we really need to be at a place where you get familiar with these chords, but you'll notice that you'll start to really be able to figure this out. I was always amazed when I first saw people pick up a guitar or play the piano, and they're like, they can jump in and play a song they've never heard before. They're just playing along with the band, and this is the reason why, is because it just you figure out what key you're in, and then everything else just kind of locks into place. Everything else, you know what notes to play, you know what notes are in that key, and then you know what chords are in that key. So there you go. I'm going to give you one tip or one trick here that is pretty neat. That you can kind of think about that's related to this, but it's not exactly on topic with this. But before I do that, do me a favor and like this video. I'm trying to build these videos up, doing these every Monday night, and it seems like it's been a really good job on the live stream. You know, there's been about anywhere from 15 to 20 people each week, but I really want to get these up, and I'm going to start releasing some smaller segment videos on this as well. So it's not just as long form. I'm going to shorten these guys up. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that, please. I'd appreciate it. And like and share and all that kind of stuff. For those of you that know, my channel was hacked a little over a year ago, and I have never recovered from the algorithm since then. Even though I've got a lot of subscribers comparatively to a lot of other channels, a lot of things just kind of tank whenever I post a video. So anyway, that would be much appreciated. If you appreciate it, I appreciate it. And then also, you know, the super chat's always available. If anybody wants to buy me a cup of coffee for this lesson or whatever the case is, I'd appreciate it. Anyway, here's the tip for you. When you're playing in a key, this is something that it really changed the way that I heard music, and that is that let's see. Okay, somebody's back. Okay, hold on. Okay, excuse me. As you look at the keys, and you hear the 1, the 4, the 5, and then you'll hear the 6. Let me just take my mug off here so I can play it. It's too low. So our 1, 4, 5. Okay, now watch this. A lot of times you're going to hear this chord here, and I'm going to play the bass notes in here. And you notice in my right hand I'm just playing a C, and my left hand I'm playing the A. Obviously that sounds like a minor chord. Okay, so if you look at it, we have if you look at it in terms of the A major scale, we have our 1, our flat 3, our 5, and our flat 7, which is the 7. So this is an A minor 7 chord. So an A minor 7 is just a C with an A in the bass. Okay. What's cool about this is your ears, they almost don't hear the difference. This is just color. The 7 is just color. Okay, I mean, doesn't that sound a little bit more full as opposed to that? Just a little bit more. So here's the trick. In any minor chord, you can always add a 7 to it. Okay, and it will never conflict. I mean, I have not come across a scenario which it would. So you're always going to, anytime you're in a minor, playing a minor chord, you can add the 7, and that 7, adding it is always just essentially the 1 chord with your minor chord root in the bass. Okay, so let's look at another key. So we have the key of G. Okay, so we have here's our 1, our 4, our 5. Back to our 1. Now if we want to play the minor chord, I'm going to just keep my right hand the same, and I'm going to play the 6 down here like that. So in a way, you can think of the 1 and the minor 6 as the same chord, My brain thinks of it this way, and instead of thinking of it that way, it's just thinking of the bass note is what's changed. So especially when I'm playing guitar, I think of that as the case. It's just a really nice little trick to kind of think of your way, and it's a way to easily give yourself a little bit of color in what you're playing. Oh, sorry. There's our 2. Our 5. It sounds like you want to go back to the 1. So anyway, that was it. Hopefully that was helpful to you. I really recommend as kind of like a homework for yourself, write out every major scale again. And if you need to use the whole half, you can do that. If you wanted to go back to last week's lesson, when we talked about the circle of fifths, you can do that. But write out every scale and then do this. And if you have your scales down, just pull out a keyboard or something. If you don't have a keyboard, you can draw out a keyboard on your whatever you got, which is, by the way, how you do that is you go 3 of these guys, take a space, do 2 more, then you do 3 more like this, and then you do a big one underneath, and you put a line underneath all of the accidentals like that. And you can just kind of count yourself. So you could go, okay, G, I'm going to go whole step. Okay, here's my, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, my G chord is G, B, and D. Anyway, however you want to do it. But I do recommend that you go ahead and think through this in more than just the keys that I did here. For time's sake, I don't want to go through a bunch of them. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully that's helpful to you. And if it was, thank you very, very much for being here. I'm glad it was helpful to you. Sorry, we had some disagreements here in the comments, and the lesson is over. But essentially, what I was getting at with that, sometimes there's a person in the comments that a lot of times basically disagree with what I'm saying and saying, well, there's another way to look at this. And the reason why that's kind of an argument is. This is Western music theory. All of this that we're teaching here, this is Western music theory. And basically what that is it's 18th century counterpoint. It's Bach, essentially, who kind of wrote the rules for all this. And everything else has just kind of been based on that and alterations of that as far as the West is concerned. Europe, United States, and most of the world. But there are... you can do, somebody's got a comment that I'm going to say in a second. But you can do those all in, what am I trying to say? Sorry, I got distracted. Oh, many different countries, many different cultures have their own systems of music that they have and different ways of thinking of it. Even down to how many notes are in an octave. How many, we have 12 notes in ours, and we have whole steps and half steps, but there's music theory systems that have quarter steps. So it is very subjective. It's how you want to learn it. The way that I teach and what I teach is somebody that is from the standpoint of somebody that has played music and the kind of the contemporary music for the last long years, I don't know, 30 years or so. And I started playing when I was 9. And I've got a degree in a bachelor's in music composition, and I've played in jazz, and we had a pretty good background of how all this stuff all works together. So the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes you will run across people that they'll say, that's not the way to think of it. You should think of it this way. And you know what? There's some validity to that. If someone wants to think something or process it and come up with it a different way, more power to you. The trouble you're going to run into is, first off, that might be a way that just you are thinking. And so you now have the daunting task of convincing every other musician that has learned similarly to the way I'm teaching, how to do it, how to think in a different way. And the other thing is, there's a lot of the holes that kind of come up in the system have been filled over the last 300 years. So anyway, there you go. Let's see, get through a couple of these questions. Pete C says, I count on my bass. Yes, The guitar and bass guitar are great instruments to count frets and figure out chords. Memorize the fretboard. If you're any guitar players out there, memorize the fretboard. It's important. And then Thomas says, can you do one of those video for minor keys? I'm not 100% sure what I think you're saying, but I think what you're saying is, does this work with minor keys? So yes, but I don't do that. And this is kind of the way that I think and the way that things are. I'll give you an example. So real quick here, we're not going to spend too much time on each question, but so if we have like our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 and or 1, and we say we're in the key of C, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again. And you say, well, that's the major scale. Well, what about the minor? Okay, well, the minor is going to be the same notes. Okay, so our A minor is this. Yep, and we would have different numbers essentially attached to this. So our 1 is going to be down here like this. Well, the issue with this is you can go in here and say, okay, well, all right, that's a minor. So this, I'm going to just do it real quick. I don't even have it memorized here. That would be a minor. There's obviously our diminished. And then it's going to be major. Oops. Our 1 would be major. Our 2 would be minor. Our 3 would be minor. Our 4 would be, I'm sorry, I'm going back to it. I'm going back to thinking up here. Our 4 would be minor. Our 5 would be minor. Our 6 would be major. And our 7 would be major. And then we go back to minor. The problem with this, the way to do it this way, thinking of it in terms of 1 being this, sometimes it's good to think of the 1 in minor keys. But if you think of them like in blues, it works to think of them in 1, because blues actually kind of fits outside of Western theory in a lot of ways. That's probably for its own video in itself. But the minor side of things, if you use like the minor mode to try to figure out, you can do that. But it kind of getting back to what I was saying about the 1 with, you know, a 6 minor which is A right here. This is your here. If we did these, that's what it's going to look like. This is essentially it's having to memorize a different set of chords instead of using the ones that your brain is already thinking of. So in other words, a lot of times, even when people write this out, like in Nashville number system, which we said, I can't believe we're coming on it. We said we would. They will not use the minor keys. They'll still use a lot of times the major numbers for it. So even if a key is like in A minor at the top of the sheet, like imagine this is the top of the page, it'll say up there like the key of C, and then they'll start off, you know, the first chord 6 minor, and you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. It usually starts off with, and then you realize, okay, it's going in here and it's playing the 2 minor and then the 3 minor. Like, wait a minute, we're not actually in the key of C, we're in the key of A minor. Just the same way to think about it. Back in classical music theory, you have your key signature like this, and so like you know, the key of G, which would have an F sharp in it, is also the key of E minor, but they don't write it out differently. It's the same notes, so they just kind of say, all right, this is, you know, this key is going to be the key of G and the key of E minor, and you just kind of figure it out that way. There might be some people that do write it out in this way, instead of saying, you know, from the top, instead of saying that this is, you know, a 6 minor. I'm going to just kind of write these in here. I'll just write the minuses for these. Instead of saying that this is a 6 minor, we're going to write this out as the 1 minor and the 4 minor, and then the, how did I write that? Yeah. And then the 5 minor. I don't find that as it can work that way. You can do that. but it's essentially the same chords it's the same chords happening. So it's just how your brain wants to think of it. I choose to think in terms of, as far as the theory, thinking of in terms of a major, and then just playing it that way. So anyway, hopefully that kind of helps with you on that. And I'm not the end all be all. It's just the way I think of it and the way I do it. But yeah, that would be that on the minor side. Okay. Pete C says, thanks, Kennis. I think if someone has their own way of doing music, they should have their own lessons on their channel and let you teach your lessons. I tend to agree with that concept. I appreciate that. Lillian Reed says, thanks, Kennis. It's coming together in my beginner's mind. Awesome. That's great. Lillian's been here every week, I believe, since I've been starting doing this over a month ago, I think. So great. I'm glad this is coming together. Let's see. Mario A. Thomas says, I struggle with the chords and minor keys. Well, hopefully that, this kind of helps you with it. If you want to think of it this way, now you can think of it this way. This might just be something to think of it. By the way, this is called the relative minor key. So if you had, you can, like, as you can see here, if it's a major key, so let's say we're in the key, our 1-4-5 is going to be major chords here. And if it's a minor key, our 1-4-5 is going to be minor chords. That makes sense. So, these are the same chords, but if you think of it that way, if you're playing in a minor key, you're doing, it's got A minor. We have our D minor. What am I doing? Then we have our E minor. So it's the same principle. You can still kind of think of it and just switch out major and minor, and then know that because your 1-4-5 in a major key is going to be major, your 1-4-5 in a minor key is going to be minor, and then you kind of switch your brain to go, okay, well, where is the diminished chord? Well, on the minor side, the diminished is going to be 2, so you're very rarely going to see a 2, and then you're probably going to see a lot more of the 6s and 7s. My brain just doesn't do that. I think of it in terms of majors, and it's great. Mario says, I grew up in church playing hymns, which are rarely, if ever, written in a minor key. Yeah, even I play in church music a lot today, and even modern music is a lot of major. And if it's minor, it's very easy to think of it in terms of minor. Now, if you're playing written sheet music, yeah, it's going to, I don't know, sheet music in actual classical music theory, I do think of it in minor. But in the more of the contemporary stuff, I don't. I think of it in major. Anyway, I don't know. I need to ask some people that I respect pretty good, on, like my brother-in-law, who's an incredible musician, and see what his brain processes through it. Then let's see what else. Corby says, I love how you present this. Awesome. Thank you. Earlier Mario said the relative minor of C major. Yeah, that'd be A minor. Yeah, I get the relative minor, and just wanted to know if you can select the chords in the same way. Okay, we just did that. Sorry. And then you put Mario put exactly, but I can't be. But it can be nice too. Yeah, it is probably good to have both of them. Burnt says, why minor keys sound sad. Happy is supposed to be happy. Are you saying why do minor keys sound sad and happy, and major keys sound happy? Church. I missed the whole word. Why minor keys sound sad and church is supposed to be happy? I don't know. That's getting into the theological realm of things. But if you read the Psalms, which stands for songs, there's a lot of sad songs in the Bible. So it's not always supposed to be that. The matter of fact, the lamenting song is probably something that the modern church is missing. Something that I've been recently looking at as I've been studying the American church history over the last couple hundred years, in particular in reference to African Americans, because there's been a separate church culture that's developed, and different songs, different styles of worship, and a lot. The one beautiful thing about the African American church culture, even pre-abolition, is the lamenting song, and there's something powerful to that in worship. So I would disagree that the church is supposed to be happy, though it should be uplifting and should be encouraging. But anyway, I like the moodiness of minor keys. Minor keys are awesome. There's essentially it's just another mode. It's an alien mode, and let's see, yeah, Ionian and alien mode. Ionian is the major key, major scale. The alien mode is the minor, and they just sound great. Okay, I think that's about time. Unless you guys want me to show you one more trick, and then we'll go. But I can save that for another time if you want to. But appreciate you guys being here. We got 19 of us here, 19 likes too. That's awesome. Thank you guys for liking this. If you haven't already, do me a favor and do it. Tell the YouTubes that you like this kind of content. Burnt said it. He said uplifting, fine, better word, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's semantics, but yeah. And I'm also going to, by the way, I mentioned this earlier in the chat or earlier in the stream. I'm going to start making some videos that are more like 5 to 10 minute, maybe 15-minute long, that are kind of short, that maybe have repeated some of the content that we've been doing on these streams, but these streams are too long for a lot of people because they're just too long. If you're like, and so I'm going to try to figure out a way to make these where they're like very searchable things. So like this right here, I would probably condense this down into like a 10-minute video maybe, and then not talk about any background, just kind of assume that everyone knows where our starting point is. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful to you. Let's see, Stephen Whitney up there said hi. That was a while ago. If you're still watching, hey man, it's good to see you. You actually tried to call me the other day and I missed the call. It's been crazy busy in my world. Corey Simpson again said the presentation is wonderful. Random Dave says thanks, Kennis. Corey Simpson said I studied at John McKinney's piano books many years ago. His presentation is figure based. Open the door to understanding how scales and chords fit together. Yeah, figured bass that's 18th century counterpoints I'm talking about. There's kind of two sides to music theory. There's the contemporary side and the classical side. The classical side is Bach. The classical side is probably got a lot more rules to it. I'll tell you a story. This is kind of a funny one. So I was in college. The school I went to is Oral Roberts University, and I didn't realize actually at the time that it actually was a really good school. And I looked it up one time, and I compared it to I had some list of like a scale, a numbered system that they gave like the top the rankings of schools, and it got a 16. And I was like, okay, well, I wonder what like a Baylor got, because I'm in Texas, and Baylor was like 30. And I was like, what the heck? What would like Harvard get? And Harvard was like an 8. I don't even remember what scale it was. Anyway, so I think I actually got a better education than I thought I did. But the point is, the school had this policy that you couldn't miss classes, and you were only allowed to miss a class per hour that it had. So like a 3-hour class, 3 credit hour class, you could only miss 3 times in the whole semester. Well, I've got ADHD. I'm not going to make every class, even though I understood a lot of the information. So I had this class that was called 18th Century Counterpoint, and basically it was a junior and senior year class you could take. It was only offered in the second semester of the year, and so I took it my junior year, and I did great in it. I knew all the information, but I had missed so many classes that I failed the class, or I got a D in it, and you weren't allowed to get a D. So the next year I had to take it again. And so I took the class again, and this was like the hard class. This was the class that like everybody that had A's in all the other classes, very studious and got it. They had difficulty in 18th century counterpoint. So I took it again, and it was a different professor. And so I went through and again, and it like the few things that I did have, I probably would have gotten a B the first time I went through it. If I'd have actually not gotten points taken off from missing classes. But my second time, I still missed a bunch of classes, and I got like all the tests were A's, like high A's. There was 3 like tests throughout the semester and then a midterm, and I'd gotten A's on all of those, A's on all the quizzes, but I'd missed a bunch, and I never turned in homework. And so I went in on the day of the final, about 30 minutes before the final, and I said, hey, I wanted to talk to you, or talking to the professor, and I said, I just wanted to know what I need to get in this final in order to get a C so that I can pass this class and graduate. And he pulled out my thing, did the math, and he was like, okay, you're going to need to get a 93 on the final in order to pass, in order to get a C. You weren't allowed to get a D and if it was within your major. And I said, all right, well, I'm pretty confident that I'll get over a 93. But you and I know both that I know this better than any other person in this class. And he just kind of said, like, well, yeah, you got to show up. Anyway, so I say that all to say, I understood at least 20 years ago, understood 18th century counterpoint very well. That's figured bass, and that's kind of where the start of all of that was and how to analyze that way. Okay, a couple more and we'll get going. Do you have some minor progressions to show tonight? Yeah, I mean, really, any progressions, I don't know. If you, in those keys, if you have your minor, it's A minor. Let me think here. You know what? Your 1-4-5 is still going to be in everything. Okay. So your 1-4-5 is going to be a part of everything. So your 1 here, your 4, if you're thinking on the minor side, it's going to be D minor. Your 5, that's going to be probably on everything. Okay. And then you're throwing a major there. Okay. So if you wanted to throw in, like, let's say a C major, which kind of turns into that key. You see a lot of that sometimes, so if you were playing a song that did 1-4-5, so it's somehow I'm playing really, I don't even have a sustain pedal here. I'm just going from like if you're thinking on the major side, I'm going like a minor 6 to the 1. Okay. Then you could go to, if you're thinking on the major side, it's the 4 and then the 5. So again, you're going to have these in here. That's why I don't think of it too much in terms of the minor side. So thinking of it just in major terms, I'm going to be thinking of the minor 6 to the 1, back to the 6. I don't know. Mess around with it and you can come up with some progressions, or just Google any song that's in the minor key. For using augmented diminished chords within your minor progression. Oh, using that. Yeah, I have to think about it for a second in order to kind of figure that out. I'm sorry. I'll think about that, and next week I'll look at that you're adding to it. You could use it as passing chords. Don't hold them too long or it sounds off. Yeah, I mean that's it basically. So if you do diminished chords, however you're using them, here's are going to be our key. So I mean, even just as you're playing it. It's just a passing tone to that. So if I was going to like 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, if I just had, just going up there, 4, 6. If the diminished chord is more used as a passing tone. So very, very well put, Burnt. All right, let's see. Wait a minute. Is the storytelling lie portion? Is this a storytelling a lie portion? I don't know what you mean. I guess you're saying my story of music theory was a lie. Okay. It wasn't, but I mean my school, it wasn't a lie. Then Lillian says, I think that's pretty, really pretty. Oh, really pretty. The chord progression. Yeah. Play around with it. Now that you know the chords, back when I was a kid in, like middle school playing, like a garage band, I didn't know there were chords in a key. So we just played what guitar chords we knew and tried to put them together and make up a song. And they didn't work a lot of times. So, all right, guys, it has been real. It's been almost an hour, and I want to try to keep these under an hour. So I'm going to let you go. I appreciate it. Thank you guys very, very, very much for being here. And I will see you next week. And if I post any videos this week in the meantime, please do me a favor and watch them and try to help my algorithm back out again. Anyway, Kennis Russell out. Thanks, guys. And I will see you in another video.